Okay, good evening, friends. Shalom Aleichem, Ruchim Abon. We're continuing in Meseches Nedarim, Daf Tesvav Amud Beis. We're discussing the Machlokes Rabbi Yehuda and Rav Nachman. If somebody says, I aser to sleep today, if I sleep tomorrow, I aser sleep today, if I sleep tomorrow, what's the halacha? Somebody says, I aser sleep today if I sleep tomorrow. Rabbi Yehuda says in the name of Rav, you can't sleep today, you might sleep tomorrow. Rav Nachman says, you could sleep today, we're not worried you're going to sleep tomorrow. Rav Nachman says, we're not worried you're going to not do an isser or do something to trigger an isser. Rabbi Yehuda says, yeah, we're concerned you might, once you, so to speak, did the thing that could be a violation, we're afraid you might trigger the violation by fulfilling the Tanai. So we, on Amud Aleph, brought a number of braisos that seem to support Rav Nachman, were a question of Rabbi Yehuda, and Rabbi Yehuda wiggled out each time by saying that it's not saying that you're allowed to do A and we're not concerned that you'll come to trigger it. Just the opposite. It's saying don't do A lest you come to trigger it. Tanan. Okay, so now we're continuing in the Brisa. Tanan, continuing in bringing proofs. Tanan, we learned in a Mishnah, Sha'at nenes li ad hachag im telchi leveis avich ad Pesach. So instead of saying, you're not allowed to get hana from me until Sukkot if you go to your father before Pesach, no. What you're saying is, in other words, until now we were saying, you can't get hana from me until Pesach if you go to your father until Sukkot. Now we're saying, you can't go to your father until... You can't get hana from me until Sukkot if you go to dad before Pesach. So the halacha is halcha lefnei Pesach. If she goes to dad before Pesach, asura b'nasa chag, she can't get hana from the husband until Sukkot. That's pashut. That was the Tanai. He said if you go before Pesach, you can't get hana until Sukkot. But umuteres leilech achar haPesach. She's allowed to go after Pesach. Okay, so it's saying if she went before Pesach, she can't get hana until Sukkot. That was the deal. However, umuteres leilech achar Pesach. She is allowed to go after Pesach, because that wasn't the deal, right? The deal was that if you go to dad before Pesach, you can't get hana until Sukkot. So if she went before Pesach, she can't get hana until Sukkot. But umutaras leilech achar Pesach. She is allowed to go after Pesach if she already went before Pesach. Why not? Going after Pesach is not adding any prohibition. Okay. So now we're making a diak. Halcha asura. If she went before Pesach, she's asur and hana until Sukkot. Loi halcha, loi. But if she didn't go, then she's not asur to get hana. So in other words, if she didn't go before Pesach, she's allowed to get hana. Why is she allowed to get hana? Why aren't we afraid that if she's going to have hana, she might end up fulfilling the Tanai and going to her father? In other, it's mashon like this. If she went, right, the lashon of the brisa is halcha lefnei Pesach asura b'hana asa. So if she went, she's asur. But if she didn't go, she's not asur. Why? She should be asur to get hana lest she go, according to Rabbi Yehuda. Let's see the Ran. Let's see what the diak is. Muteres leilech achar Pesach, v'lei chashinan. We're not afraid. Well, shema loy tizkor she'avra al tana kaidem Pesach. We're not afraid. Well, maybe she won't remember that she violated the Tanai and before Pesach by going, if we allow her to go asil asnuye, she'll come to get hana. In other words, what's the case? She went before Pesach. She can't get hana before Sukkot. So maybe we should say she's asked to go after Pesach. So she'll remember that she went before Pesach and she's asked hana. No, we don't say such a thing. What's the diuk? The diuk is simple. It says if she went before Pesach, she can't get hana. That implies if she didn't go before Pesach, she could get hana. But according to Rabbi Yehuda, it's not true. If she didn't go before Pesach, and it's still before Pesach, she should not be able to get hana because she may still go. Amar Rava said, the truth is, even if she didn't go before Pesach, she can't get hana before Pesach. Halcha, if she went asur v'loike, she can't go and she'll get malchus. Loi halcha, if she went before Pesach, she can't get hana, and if she did, she'll get malchus. Loi halcha, if she didn't go asur v'alma, then she's just asur to get hana. Okay, here we go. Meisvei kikar ze alai hayoim im elech l'makom ploni l'machar. This kikar is usher to me today if I go to, let's say, Gaza tomorrow. I heard it's going to be really nice over there. So I was thinking that I'm going to usher this kikar on me because I might prematurely go to Gaza before it becomes the new resort area, right? So the person said, I usher this kikar if I go to such and such place. Achal. Now, what would Rabbi Yehuda say? Could you eat the kikar? No, because you might go to that place. But it's mashma, achal, if he ate the kikar, hareza b'bal yelech. He can't go to that place. That implies only if you ate it, you can't go to that place. But if you didn't eat it, you could go to that. Right? That's mashma. If you ate it, then you can't go to that place. But are you allowed to eat it? It says, achal, if you ate it, then you have a problem about yelech. But why does it say that? It should say, you're not allowed to eat it. Why does it say, if you ate it, you got problems? It should say, you're not allowed to eat it. It must be, you're allowed to eat it. That's the question. Says Gemara, right? What's the diuk? It's masha, you're allowed to eat it. Let's see the Ran. Achal harehu zu b'bal yelech, had the sakadaitach, the hay achal, oichelhu. What's the havamina? Does it say that you're allowed to eat it? Why does it say that when it says if you ate it, it sounds like you could eat it l'charchila? Mishum de Tana kulu asir ktari. This Tana is very extensive in listing all the possibilities. Achal hareu b'vayelech. Because the Brisa continues, halach, if he went, hareu b'valyachal devarai. But v'im isa de l'charchil loy matzi acha, if l'charchil you're now to eat it, how you sur nami have a lemas. It should have said, you're now to eat it. It says Gemara, mi katani oichel. Does it say you could eat it l'charchila? Achal katani. Dechi achal, if you ate it, hareza b'bal yelech. If you ate it, then you can't go. But it's not talking about that you're allowed to eat it l'charchila. Look in the Ran with Farkina, the answer is mi katani oichel, achal katani. Kolaim Rabbi Kivan de achal katani, which is masha di eved. Just the opposite. You're now to eat it. So now the Gemara continues, because the next part of the Brisa is halach. If you went, hareza b'bal yachal devarai, you're over b'bal yachal devarai. Right? If you went, so we say hareza b'bal yachal devarai. Meaning you ate it, and if you went to raise a bachal divari, but mahalach loy, What does that mean? Mahalach loy. Let's see the Ran. What does it mean, mahalach loy? It doesn't say you're allowed to go to that place, because think about what the guy said. Kikar zu alai hayom, im elech l'makam plani l'machar. Achal harei zababal yich. Right? If he ate it, he's now to go that day. Halach, if he went that day, harei zababal yachal dvarei. So right, if he went that day, so now l'mafreya, he's over bal yachal. But why doesn't it say mahalech loy? It doesn't say you're allowed to go there. What does that mean? Let's see the Ran. The Ran says, "Umakshinan su ema seifa halach harehu b'val yachal devarai mahalech loy katani." Listen carefully. Kolaima. Emisal Rabbi Yehuda. If Rabbi Yehuda is right, havlei lemisna mahalech ein b'val yachal devarai. If you go, you're not over bal yachal devarai. What does this mean? Umilsa ba'apei nafsha have it. It would be a separate statement. V'loi koi aresha would not be going on the resha. Elahachi havalei lemisni. This is what it should have taught. Mahalech, you could go. Ve'enoi v'lo yachal. The mistama hachiu. Mistama, this is the case. Dahab yoim aleph loy shari lei lemechal. You weren't allowed to eat on the first day. V'hechi pasak v'amar halach harehu b'val yachal. How could it say halach harehu b'val yachal? Kivan she'en aloy lechal b'yam aleph. Since you should not have eaten on the first day. What does that mean? It could have said boy. Let's see if we could crack this. The Gemara is asking, Halach harei zeh b'al yachal dvarai mahalech loy. It doesn't say that you're allowed to go there. V'kashal Rabbi Yehuda. This is a question on Rabbi Yehuda. What exactly is the question? Let's see one more time in the Ran. Umakshinan su ema seifa. Halach harehu b'bal yachal devarai. If you go, you're over bal yachal devarai. Mahalech loy katani. It does not say you could go. Kalaymar im isel Rabbi Yehuda. If Rabbi Yehuda is correct, havalela misni mahalach ein b'bal yachal devarai. It should say, if you go, you're not over bal yachal devarai. Why? Umilsa ba'apei nafsha have it. It would be a separate statement. V'loi koya resha. Would not be going on the resha. See, the resha would be Kikar zu alai hayom emelech l'makam plani l'machar achal harehu b'bal yelech halach hareza b'bal yachal. If you went, you're over bal yachal devarai. Then it should say mehalich, you're allowed to go. Why? Because presumably you didn't eat it. What does this mean? Mahalach ein bal yachal devarai umilsa ba'apei nafsha havi v'loi koya resha. It's not going on the resha. Elahachi havalei misni mahalach ve'ena b'lo yachal the mistama hachihu dab'yoyim aleph loy shari leila mechal. You weren't allowed to eat it on day one. Ve'hechi pasak v'amar halach hareu b'bal yachal. How could it say if you went, you're over bal yachal? Kivan she'en loy lechal b'yam aleph. Uparkina, and the Gemara is going to answer. Amalach Rabbi Yehuda adin the listening mahalach. V'aydi the tani reisha achal. Since it said achal, d'loy misni ochal, can't say ochal tana sefer nami halach. Koloymar eno chanami. Di boy lemitvas milsa ba'apei nafshe. If it would have picked its word by itself, have a tani mahalach, it would have said you could go. Ela mishum del elmine tana achal v'loy matzi misni ochal mishum achi loy tana mahalach ve'ena b'bal yachal. That's why it didn't say you could go and you're not over Bal Yachal, because if it would have said that, it would be mashma that even though you ate on the first day, you could go on the second day, and there's no Bal Yachal. I would have explained the whole brisa like this. Sometimes if you eat, you can't go on the second day. How? If you ate it intentionally. Let's say you remembered that the isser of going is dependent on your halicha. Right? This is talking about a guy who said, this kikar is asr today if I go to such and such place. So, in a case where if I eat, and sometimes if I eat, I'm not allowed to go. When I ate intentionally knowing that if I eat, I'm incurring an isser to go. But sometimes, in other words, the guy said, if I eat this kikar, I'm not allowed to go to Gaza. So if when he ate the kikar, he was cognizant that eating this kikar means he's not allowed to go to Gaza, then he's not allowed to go to Gaza. But what if at the time that he ate the kikar, he totally forgot that eating the kikar means he can't go to Gaza? That would be called nidrei shkagos. That would be called making a neder b'shoigeg, where at the time he made the neder, at the time he violated the neder, he said, if I eat this thing today, I can't go to... if I eat this kikar is asr to me today, if I go to Gaza tomorrow. If at the time he ate the kikar, he totally forgot he can't go to Gaza tomorrow, it's not chal. He's allowed to go.
Why?
Okay, let's look in the Ran. Dahainu shaz v'zimnin da'afagav da'achal barishain mahalach b'sheni. Sometimes, even though he ate on the first day, he's allowed to go on the second day. If on the first day he ate the food, forgetting about the fact that eating the food means he can't go to Gaza tomorrow, in such a case, you're allowed to go on the second day. Now, there's a rule that if somebody says that if I go to Gaza today, I am usher to go to eat this kikar tomorrow, and if he forgets at the time he went to Gaza, that's for sure nidrei shkagos. If you fulfill the t'nai b'shoigeg, that's for sure nidrei shkagos. But here, he's not violating the t'nai b'shogeg, he's forgetting at the time he's eating. The Ran says that's also nidrei shkagos. Uv'chihai gavna mahalach v'yom sheni k'demuchach shmaitza de b'choyros perek shvua shtayim baso mishum de tana lav b'hai dina asik tana seifa halach. So what exactly is the Gemara's question? The Gemara says, halach, if he went... Right? He says, if I go, this kikar is asr to me if I go to such and such place. So the beginning of the brisa is, if he ate, he can't hareza bebal yelech. But that's mashma, he's not allowed to eat lecharchila. I'm sorry, that's mashma, if he ate, he can't go to that place, but he's allowed to eat lecharchila. So the Gemara says, no, really, he's not allowed to eat lecharchila. It just says achal if he ate. Fine. Then the Gemara says halach. If he went, hareza b'bal yachal devarai. He's over bal yachal devarai, assuming that he already ate. But what doesn't it say, right? Let's try to chap what the kasha was. It doesn't say mahalech. It doesn't say he's allowed to go the next day. Now, is he allowed to go the next day? He is allowed to go if he didn't eat on day one. So why doesn't it say mehalech, he could go the next day? If Rabbi Yehuda is right, listen carefully. If Rabbi Yehuda is right that you're not allowed to eat it on the first day, so why don't we assume the cases he didn't eat it? And it says mahal, and it should therefore say mahalech. He's allowed to go. Must be, it doesn't say you're allowed to go because you're allowed to eat on the first day. So we assume he did, and therefore you're not allowed to go. So it's a kasha on Rabbi Yehuda. Meaning if Rabbi Yehuda is right, it should have said you could go on the second day because you didn't eat on the first day.
It's a pasha din. Because that's the Tanai. Of course you can go on the second day. What are you teaching me then?
It should have said what it's by saying you're allowed to go on the second day. What it would be saying is you were allowed to eat on the first day. It's not teaching you're allowed to go on the second day once you ate on the first day. It's teaching you're allowed to eat on the first day. That's what it would be teaching.
On the second day if I didn't eat on the first day. That's what holiest means.
No, in other words, the fact, if it would say you're allowed to go, what it would be teaching me is I'm allowed to eat on the first day. I'm sorry, if it would say I'm allowed to go, it would be teaching me I'm not allowed to eat on the first day like Rabbi Yehuda Shita. But it didn't teach me that. It must be because I'm not allowed to eat on the first day, and therefore, I'm sorry, it must be I'm allowed to eat on the first day, and therefore I can't go on the second day. What the Gemara is asking is, if Rabbi Yehuda is correct that I'm not allowed to eat on the first day, why wouldn't the Brisa say I could go on the second day? Why wouldn't the Brisa assume, if Rabbi Yehuda is correct that I didn't eat on day one, and therefore I could go on day two? Must be because I'm allowed to eat on day one, and therefore I'm not allowed to go on day two. That's a kasha on Rabbi Yehuda. So what's the Gemara saying? Amar lecha Rabbi Yehuda, hu adin de lisni mahalech. Right? It could have said that. It could have said, I'm allowed to go because I didn't eat on day one. But since the Reisha said achal, because it can't say I'm allowed to eat lecharchila, so the Seifa said halach.
Why can't it say you can eat lechatchila? You could eat it.
What? Why didn't it say what?
Why can't it say you can eat lechatchila?
Why can't it say oichel?
You're not allowed to.
Because according to Yehuda, you're not allowed to. So let's see, what is the Ran saying? The Ran is saying, let's try that one more time, sorry. Let's see if we could crack this. Umakshinon su, you see where it says it? Umakshinon su. Amos seifa. Halach. Harehu bebal yachal devarai. But mahalech loikatani. Meaning, im yisol Rabbi Yehuda, if Rabbi Yehuda was right, have a leila misni mahalech, if you go, eina bebal yachal devarai. And what would it be saying? Umilsa ba'apei nafshei have. It would be a separate statement. V'loi koya reisha. It would not be going on the reisha. Elahachi have a leila misni mahalech. Ve'ena b'lo yachal. Dimastama hachihu. This is probably the situation. Dahabi yom aleph loy shari leilecha. You're not to eat on day one. Ve'hechi pasek v'amar. How can it paskin and say if you went harehu b'bal yachal devarai? Right? It says halach. You're over bal yachal. What do you mean halach harehu b'bal yachal? Kivan shein leilecha b'yom aleph. What it should say is mehalech, you're allowed to go. I mean, the question on Rabbi Yehuda is, what do you mean halach harehu b'bal yachal? But it should say mehalech, you're allowed to go because you probably didn't eat on day one. Elamai, it says halach, halach, you're over b'bal yachal. That means you're assuming that he ate on day one. You're assuming he ate on day one, but in Rabbi Yehuda, why would you assume that? So what's that? Right, so it should say you're allowed to go lechatchila on day two because probably you didn't eat on day one.
But lechatchila you're not allowed to, with Rabbi Yehuda.
Right, since according to Rabbi Yehuda, lechatchila you're not allowed to, it should say lechatchila you are allowed to go on day two. But the fact that it says that halach harei b'bal yachal, it's assuming you did eat on day one.
Yeah, but you would,
right? And now I would say, well, that's because we're going on the case of the ratio where you ate. Achal, that's right. It would have said I could go lechatchila, but the ratio said past tense, because it can't say I could eat lechatchila. So the sefer also said past tense. Ein echanami. If it would be a separate statement, it would say mahalech. But because it said achal and it can't say oichel, so therefore it didn't say mahalech. Because now why? If it would say mahalech, have a mashma that even though you ate on day one, you could go on day two, and there's no bal yachel. In other words, since in the Reisha it had to say achal, it can't say oichel. Therefore, it didn't say mahalech ben bal yachel. Because why not? So I would have said, well, because then it's not parallel. But then the Ran says, if it would have said that mahalech, it's masha, even though you ate on day one, you could go on day two. Now, how would that make any sense? Now, there's where the Ran sticks in this chidush nifla, that sometimes when you eat on day one, you're over bal yachel. When is that? If you eat b'mezid. And sometimes, if you ate on day one, you're not over bal yachel. If you ate b'shaygeg, what does it mean, ate b'shaygeg? If you forgot, when you said, I'm usher on this kikar today, if I go to such and such place tomorrow, if when you ate the kikar, you forgot about that, then you'd be allowed to go to that place tomorrow.
How is it mashma that if you would have said, the Ran says that if it said mahalech, and it'd be mashma that even if you ate on Yom Rishon, mahalech Yom Sheni.
Why would that be mashma on that?
I think that.
See, I would have said, I would have just stopped by saying, since the Reisha had to say past tense, the Sefer wanted to be parallel and say past tense. But the Ran doesn't want to say that. The Ran says, since the Reisha said past tense, if it would say mahalech, you would make a mistake and think it's mahalech even when it's going on the case of the Reisha. Even when it's achal, you could still go lecharchila. And how would that be true in a situation where you ate b'shaygeg? You hear how the Ran is learning? Sorry, I had to read a couple times here. But see, I would have just, the simple way of learning, if we didn't have the Ran. By the way, I just want to say that we're learning, no question, we're learning Pashut Pshat in Nedarim on a higher level than we did Yavamis and Ksubis, simply because of the Ran. Because you can't, the level of Shakla V'Tarya that the Ran brings to the table is a complete, it's Keilu you learned like Tosfos and the Marshan, a different Masechta. That's the Ran implicitly. In other words, if I would have taught this Gemara, right, and I'm not learning Rishonim, I would have just said, the Reisha said achal, the Seifa has to say halach. But the truth is, it could have said mahalech. But the Ran sticks out his neck and he says it could not have said mahalech, because you would have thought the case of mahalech is even in a case of where it was previously achal. And how would such a thing be? The Ran says is for say chidush that there's a difference between achal b'shoygeg and achal b'mezid. And the Ran says a chidush nifla that if you ate not actively knowing about the fact, if you ate forgetting about the fact that you made the neder, then you could go to Gaza the next day. After all, it's an international place. It's an international community. Why not? You're a citizen of the United States. There's no reason why you can't go there. They have sovereignty over it. So, okay. Yeah, that's how the Ran learns the Gemara. Very, very interestingly. In other words, the Ran doesn't learn symmetrical. It's not, the Reisha said achal, so the Sefer had to say halach. It's the Reisha said achal, so if it would say mahalech, you would think it's going on the case of Achal. So therefore it says, halach. So that what? Halach, if you went, you're over Bal Yachel. When? In what case? Why are you over Bal Yachel? In other words, what's the reason why if it's halach, you're over Bal Yachel? What would Rabbi Yehuda say? If he went, he's over Bal Yachel, in a case where you previously ate. So halach, if he went, he's over Bal Yachel when? In the case of achal. But if it would say mehalech, he could go lechatchila, then you still might make a mistake and think it's talking about where you ate previously. Okay, let's see the next Gemara. Ha'omer leisha, if somebody says to a woman, Kainam shani mishamshech hareza b'bal yachal devari. A man says to a wife, I make a neder that I'm not going to have relations with you. You're over bal yachal devari. So the question is, v'hamishtabila midaraisa. He's meshubed to her midaraisa. So what do you mean you're over bal yachal devari? But why is the neder chal? In other words, why in the world is a neder chal? He's meshubed to her midaraisa, shenemar, d'chsev, she'era, her clothing, her she'era, her food, kesusa, her clothing, va'inasa, and her times. La yigra, you can't take away from her. A man is meshubed to have relations with his wife. By the way, this is very interesting. Nowhere in the Torah does it say that a husband has to have marital relations with his wife. It says that if he marries an Amma of Riyah in addition to his wife, he can't take away from the Amma of Riyah's She'er Ksusana. And we make a Kavachomer, if even a woman who you take in excess to your wife, who you're not fully, it's not a regular marriage, you can't diminish, certainly to your own wife. So the question is, he's meshubet her midaraisa. The Ran asks a bamba of akasha. He says, but we say in Ksubis that a koinam is kedushas haguf, and it's stronger than a shibud. That's a big question here. Anyway, the Gemara says no. You know how he's able to make this neder? He circumvents the shibud. How does he circumvent the shibud? Ba'omer, where he says, Hanas tashmishach alai. I answer the hana of your tashmish ami. If I say, I answer my hana to you, I say you can't get hana from me, I can't do that. I have to give you the hana. I'm meshubed to you, midaraisa. But I could say, okay, I'm not answering you to get hana from me. I'm answering me to get hana from you. So now, the neder is chal because it circumvents the shibud. I'm a shibud to give you hana, but I'm answering me to get hana from you. And therefore what? V'ha like hanichale b'tashmish. So in this case, he's saying he's not pleased with Tasha. In other words, he's not able to do it. Amrav Kahana, Tashmishi alayich. If the husband answers my Tashmish and you kaifenoisa misham shasai, we force him to have relations, the shibude mishabedaslay, because he's meshubater. Hanas Tashmisha chalai, the hana of your Tashmish ami aser. He's not allowed to have Tashmish. She'ein machilun loy adam davra aser lai. If he answers your tashmish to me, he can't get hana because she's not allowed to live with him now. You hear this? If he says the hana of your tashmish is usher to me, she can't live with him. Because her living with him, she's being machshel him. So if he says, I'm asking my tashmish on you, pal, you can't do that, you're meshubater. But if he says, I can't get enough from you, so now she can't live with him. Yes, he's meshubater and he has to have relations with her, but she can't have relations with him because he's being machshel her. This might depend on the machlokes we spoke out yesterday. If I say that you can't get hana from me, and you get hana, am I getting the lashes? Or are you getting the lashes? The Ran says, if I say you can't get hana, you can't get hana. I'm answering you. You're not allowed to do it. Or the Rambam says, no. I'm saying I can't give you hana. I'm not allowed to give you hana. I'm the one who gets the lashes. I'm not allowed to give you hana. I'm violating. When you get hana, I'm violating it. So the question is, if I say that I can't get hana from you, so then maybe she can't live with him. She is causing him to get hana. Says the Mishnah, Shvua she'eni yashen, she'eni medaber, she'eni mahalech. An oath that I'm not going to sleep, I'm not going to speak, I'm not going to walk, asr. He's asr. Now it's interesting. Because of the previous Mishnah, Yedarim Abezah, Koim She'ani Yashin, She'ani Medaber, She'ani Mahalech, or Ha'omer L'Isha, I asked her Tashmish, all of these cases, the neder is Chal. The neder is Chal. Here, it's a Shvua, but it doesn't say a case, Shvua She'eni Mishamshach. Why? Because by a neder, it's an Isser Chefza. Isser Chefza, he asers himself from getting hana. But so therefore it's chal. But he can't swear he's not going to have relations with her. He's meshubed to have relations with her. Furthermore, ein Isser, he's swearing, he already swore he's going to keep the Torah. So the shvua is not chal. You can't swear to violate an aver. So Rabbi Kiveger says that's why this Mishnah does not list the case of shvua she'eni mishamshach. Karban loy oichalach. A karban of what I'm not going to eat from you. Okay, so what I'm not going to eat from you is a karban. What I'm going to eat from you is not a karban, so it's nothing. Ha karban she'oichalach. By the life of a karban, of what I eat from you, also meaningless. Loi karban, loi oichalach. It's not going to be a karban. What I'm not going to eat for you, mutter, it's mutter. But because what I am, because the only reason it would be aser is miklal avat hashemeh. Here we'll see the Mishnah is going like Rabbi Meir. Okay, Rabbi say? We will hold it over here. Shkayach. And have a wonderful night. Bracha v'atzlacha.
Recording stopped.